So as a master of being home all the time, seeing as I did online school second semester last school year, so, you know, a year ago now, I am very well versed in being home all the time and keeping myself busy, but a lot of people are not. So I have come to be entertaining, hopefully theoretically. Sometime in late December, I think, sometime the week between Christmas and New Year's, not sure, but Connor Franta uploaded a video ranking his decade, and I loved that idea. I don't know if it was his idea or if other people also did that, / did it first, but I really like that idea. I will link to his video in the description, but I decided I'm going to do that today too. So I downloaded a screen recorder and here we go. Alright, so we've got all of these tiers. Can I make this full screen? How do I make this full screen? Oh, I can change the colors. That's nice. Yeah, I don't want any of that. Okay, we're gonna do it like that. Maybe I can zoom in. Okay, so I zoomed in a little. I guess that's better. All right, we're gonna change these names because they're boring AF. Let's see. We're gonna go with Yas because Yas. We're gonna go with yeah because it's legit. It's good. Let's see. This one we're gonna go with yeah, sure. I wish I could type. That is not at all the word yeah. Yeah, sure. Zoom that out again. Can you tell I'm bad at computers? Because I'm bad at computers. Let's see, this one's gonna be nah, because nah. And this one's gonna be, gross. All right, now that we've got all of those tiers, let's see. Oh, that's right, I was gonna find photos for this. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I have photos. Some of these years really doesn't look like I had any photos of myself because I lost my hard drive. So I'm just going based on what I have saved on my phone, which is very limited. So we'll see how this goes. Now all I have to do is figure out how to add a photo. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so tisn't working. Save download? Oh, maybe that's it. Sure. Save image. Yeah, and then we'll go into Gimp because I know how to use Gimp. So first we're gonna just grab that rank thing. Is it that? Yes, it is. Cool. So, on to the main content of the video. So, starting with 2010, we want to open as layers. We're going to pretend I know what I'm doing. 2010, we're starting with 2010. That photo's way too big. I'm tempted to put you in gross just because you're really messing me up here. So, hi, I'm back. 2010, we're starting with 2010, which is the year I had my first big crush, which is very embarrassing, but we're gonna get it out there anyway. It's important to know. Also, that was the year I realized that I didn't really understand any of the people in my grade because all of the girls were really into Justin Bieber, and I was like, I don't understand this hype at all. So that was fun. That was the first year when I didn't know anyone going into any of my classes. I mean, other than kindergarten, of course. But it was different because I already had friends at the school and stuff, but it was the first year that I didn't have any friends in my class. So that kind of sucked. But you know what? I think we're gonna put this one in yeah, sure, because it wasn't awful by any stretch of the imagination. It just wasn't that great. So we're gonna, can I select that one? Transform tools, crop, current layer only. Ha, I know how to read. Oh, hell yeah. You can just call me Genius McGee. And we're gonna call 2010, yeah, sure. 2011 was an interesting year as well because there was so much that went on. I met one of my best friends. She's still one of my closest friends today. Shout out to Zara if you're watching. I miss you. I got my glasses so I could finally see stuff. that was nice, because my teacher was like, why can you like not see the board? You're sitting right in front of it. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm blind. So that was nice. I also went through my ABBA phase, which is very questionable, and we're not going to spend too much time talking about it. But overall, 2011 wasn't terrible. I think we're going to put that in yeah. It was alright. If I had to relive it, I'd be like, sure, but you know, it wouldn't be my first choice to relive. It's definitely not a yas. So then 2012 was the year I started 5th grade, which was the best year, but it was mostly still just like shitty 4th grade stuff. That was the year when I had about a million different substitutes, which sucked because my first teacher went out on maternity leave, then my second teacher went out on maternity leave, then my third teacher, we were so mean to that she quit after 2 weeks because, you know, 4th graders be assholes. And then our last teacher was only there for 2 weeks. She was fresh out of college and she did not know how to handle a classroom yet. I wish her the best, because if she didn't learn how to take care of not having students be assholes, then she must have a really shit time teaching. She must really regret her degree by now. So I also had my deflux procedure for my kidneys, because for those of you who don't know, I have kidney problems. So that was the year I had that surgery. And I was only out of school for like 1 or 2 weeks, I think. So that was pretty good. Most surgeries, obviously not back to school in a week or 2. So that's good. I also started 5th grade that year with Mr. Marinello, who is my favorite teacher. I still absolutely love him. I also wrote the infamous letter to my crush where I was like, I'm having surgery and I would love to see you and I like you so, so much, and blah, 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 blah. And I sent it out and I was really nervous, and then he got it and he read it to everyone on the bus, and then everyone laughed at me because I had feelings and everyone was an immature child. So that was definitely a no-no. And it was only like 4 months of my favorite teacher, so we're gonna put that in nah. Oops, I'm cropping an image. Oops, I uncropped an image. Okay, we're gonna put that in nah, because that was a pretty bad year. 2013 was the year I started middle school. It was also the year when I had the most time with my favorite teacher, Mr. Marinello. And it was the year I started questioning my sexuality, so that was a pretty... I mean, when I say questioning, that's kind of like a loose term, because back in like 2nd grade, I was like, I think I like girl. I think I am boy. But I was kind of just like, nah, we'll deal with that later. So I kind of just decided not to think about it, which is weird. I was like, I'll deal with that later. So 5th grade though, I was like, hey, remember that thing you thought of in 2nd grade? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And my brain was like, yeah, we're gonna think about that now. That was the year I started being like, I like girl. I also, as I said, I started middle school, and I still was like, the quirky kid. Only turns out when you're in middle school and you haven't grown up with literally everyone in all of your classes and they don't know you yet, they don't really like the quirky kid as much because they're not used to all of that. They didn't grow up with all of that. So when you're compiling a giant notebook full of all of the names because you like names and you like writing and you like to name your characters, doesn't go over that well if you do that in school. So don't do that, you'll get teased. Overall though, other than, you know, that, it was not that bad a year, and I really liked my 5th grade teacher, and 6th grade actually went alright, especially compared to the rest of my middle school years. So I think we're gonna put that, let's see, where do we want to put that? If I could make this photo small enough that I could see my tears. Get scaled, bitch. Okay. We're gonna drag that photo down so I can see my face. We're gonna crop my face out. Me and my bonnet and all. I played Betsy Ross in the school play, if you're wondering why I'm dressed so strangely. And then we're gonna scale that layer a little more because it's still too frickin' big. That's still too frickin' big. How many pixels do you have, my dude? And there we go. That's face shaped. We're gonna put that in yeah. It was all right. 6th grade got off to a questionable start, but it ended up all right. And I had 5th grade, and we're gonna call that yeah. Which brings us to 2014, which is when I finished 6th grade and started 7th grade, and it was a less fun year. It was the year when I started coming out as a lesbian, back when I thought I was a lesbian. Fun fact, I'm trans and bi, not a lesbian, but I didn't know most of those labels back then. I was like, I like girls, I think I'm a girl, I must be a lesbian. I'm not. But it was an important part of my life and part of my journey, so it's not like I'm looking back on that and going, oh, you idiot. I'm just like, you were a kid, you were questioning stuff. I'm glad that you figured stuff out now, but that was legit. That was a very important part of my journey, and it wasn't a bad time in my life, I wouldn't say. But what was a bad part of my life at this time, 2014 was the year I started having migraines. For those of you who don't know, I have a migraine every day. That's super fun. And because of those migraines, I had super bad attendance at this point in time. So all of the people at the school were just like, hey, you're like never here. And I was like, hey, I'm in pain a lot. And they were like, we don't care. We're gonna take you to court if you don't like come to school. And I was like, this is a lot of pressure to be putting on a child, but okay. So that was super fun. In addition, that was the year I started having depression, which is also a big old bag of joy. But on the other side of that, because it wasn't all bad, I had two of my favorite teachers. I had Mrs. Camden, my math teacher, and Mrs. McGinn, my computers teacher. Thank you to Mrs. McGinn. If you're watching, you're the reason I know how to Photoshop this. Kind of. I promise that she's a better teacher than my example on my screen recording is showing. We just didn't use Gimp in class. Also, as you can see in the photo on the screen, this was the year I got the worst haircut ever, because I went into the salon. I was like 13? No, I hadn't turned 13 yet. I was 12. I was 12, and I was like, I would like a pixie cut. And this lady was like, I have never heard of a pixie cut in my life, even though I'm a hairdresser. And I was like, okay, it's kind of short. And she was like, what lengths do you want? How much razor do you want? And I was like, I'm 12, I don't know. And she gave me a buzz cut. Long story short, she gave me a buzz cut. And as you can see from the photo, I was so thrilled about this. Because you know that time in your life when you've got migraines and depression and are questioning your sexuality and everyone at school thinks you're weird and your hair salon lady gives you a buzz cut? That time, that's really fun. We're gonna put this in the solid gross category. I would rather die than relive 7th grade. And continuing with 7th grade, after 2014 came 2015, obviously, which is the year that I finished 7th grade and moved on to 8th grade. 8th grade was arguably better than the year before, but it still wasn't great. Like, my attendance was still bad, my health was still really bad, and the school still harassed us about me never being there. But on the other hand, I had some of my favorite teachers. I had Mrs. Camden again, I had Mrs. McGinn again. I love them both. Absolutely amazing teachers. Mrs. Camden is the teacher who convinced me to love math, which is a feat in and of itself, because I'm gay. I also learned to crochet, and I went to solo and ensemble for the first time early that year when I was still in 7th grade. And those were both really cool. Solo and ensemble, for those of you who don't know, is a competition for students from, I think, 6th to 12th grade. Whatever music they do, they get to perform and they get judged, and then they get a medal if they do okay. If they do really shit, then they go, oh honey, you didn't do that well. But if you do well, you get to go home with a medal. So I've got some medals. It's very fun. This was also the year when I wrote 3 novels, which they're all crap, and they did not have enough words to even remotely be considered a novel, but I tried really hard, and that kind of, I had loved writing for as long as I could remember, but that was what really made me love creative writing, and that's when I came up with a lot of the characters and storylines that I still am working on to this day. And if I hadn't taken that time to experiment with my writing, I probably wouldn't be writing today, because most of the things I do now are things I've done since middle school. So, that was also the year we had bed bugs though, which a 0 out of 10 would not recommend. I was also probably allergic to their bites because I was covered in spots and still have scars in places from how bad they were. So, don't recommend that. That was pretty shit. But, you know, it had good and bad parts. It was mostly bad though, so we're gonna put that in nah. We're gonna put 2015 in nah. I wouldn't want to relive it. Which brings us to 2016, aka the year I started high school. Yay! So, here's the tea. High school sucks. I don't think anyone can deny, even if they had a decent time in high school, like my mom, she's like, yeah, I liked high school. But for most people, we all know that high school sucks. So, this was the year I started that though. I was still having some major pain with my migraines. I also had started having joint pain because I have something called fibromyalgia, which is just a fancy word for, hey, your joints and muscles hurt all the time. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. And that's fun. But this was also the year, I think, that I got my 504 plan in place. So that was good. That's been really helpful with the school not harassing me anymore and stuff, so that's good. This was also the year I started listening to My Chemical Romance, which is my favorite band. And that really opened the door to most of the music I listen to now. And I got signed up for Tumblr. So a lot of the things that I really like now and a lot of the people that I'm still in contact with, I met that year. So that was good. Overall, freshman year wasn't terrible. It had its pros and its cons. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. But you know what? We're gonna put that in, yeah, it was okay. It was fine. I would relive it if I have to. Wouldn't be my first choice. I feel like I should have something in yas, but then I'm looking back at these years and going, yeah, I guess nothing is yas. Which brings us to 2017, aka the year I started 10th grade, finished 9th grade. That summer, I had my first and so far only breakup, which was super terrible, and I am still at times reeling from it, because before dating this person, they were my best friend for 10 years, and suddenly that just stopped, and it was a mess. I'll probably talk about it at some point because there's a lot of life lessons I learned from that and hopefully can impart to you guys so you don't have to go through that. But for now, that's all the pertinent info is. That summer sucked. That was also the Big Depression Part 1, which continued into the next 2 years for Parts 2 and 3. So that sucked. I did get my TMJ diagnosis though, which means that this joint up in here, it no works so good. I have jaw pain. We moved in November of 2017 as well, from the house that I had lived in for 10 years and loved and felt at home in. So I guess that year was just the ending of a decade, pretty much, which that's kind of sad when I think about it that way. Let's move on. I also had the worst teacher I've ever had that year, Mrs. Linehan. She hated me and did not want to work with me despite my 504 plan. It was great. I did learn how to cross stitch though, so that was good. Overall, 2017 was a solid, gross. So we're gonna put that in, gross. I think that might have been the year I dyed my hair black the first time as well. Was it the year before? I can't remember, but somewhere in there I dyed my hair black for the first time, and that was legit, and I liked that, because I'm a goth at heart. We'll just shove that one there. Gross. Alright, we're in the home stretch. Next up is 2018, which, spoiler alert, it wasn't quite as bad as 2016 and 7. Actually, I don't know, it might have been worse. It wasn't great, but you know, what can you do? This brings us to the year I started 11th grade. And when I started 11th grade, I also switched schools. So the school I went to from kindergarten to 10th grade, not at it anymore. That was really scary, but it was a really good change because I really liked my new school more than I've ever liked my old school. So it was a good thing. It was just a very intimidating thing, but I'm glad I did it. On the other side of the spectrum, this was also the Big Depression Part 2, as I foreshadowed earlier. But it was also the year I came out as trans, or started to. So that was, again, scary but really good. So mixed bag there. And some issues arose with certain family member who will not be named, which, you know, there's always some issues, but that was a new issue, so that was a little less good. All in all, though, we're going to put this one in, what do we want to put this one in? I think we're going to put this one in nah, because it wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't terrible, so it doesn't really belong in yeah, sure. it doesn't really belong in gross, so we're gonna put it in nah. And finally, we've come to last year, 2019, which is the year I started 12th grade. Now, this year is kind of complicated because if we went on the last 4 months only, it would definitely be a yas, because the last 4 months were a yas. But the first 4 months of the year, let's make that first 6 or 7 months of the year, were a solid gross. Actually, if there were a category under gross, it would go in that category. So it's a little harder to rank. Good things, I started YouTube. I started an antidepressant that really has helped me a lot. Bad side, had the big depression before that. Also, did some online schooling, as I mentioned, which was a big ol' mistake. It was really bad, but I tried it. It didn't work for me. So, you know. Also, good thing, got my nose ring. Bad thing, more weird family stuff with family member who shall not be named. So, it had its ups and its downs. But seeing as we have no yas, and the last couple months are what I would like to focus on, because they were yas, we're going to put that in yas. Because the last couple months, they really were good. And the first couple months of this year, other than, you know, coronavirus, have actually been really good for me on a personal level. So we're going to put that in yas, because we're going to count that stuff and not all of the crap stuff. We've had enough crap stuff on this list. We're going to go with yas. And this year, I'm anticipating a yas, because despite all of this quarantining and all of, you know, this weird stuff going on in the world right now, I'm graduating high school this year, I'm starting college this year, my mental health and physical health are better than they've been for years in the past, and I'm feeling good about things. So I'm excited to see how it goes. If you liked this video, feel free to leave me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see what I do the rest of the year and the rest of the quarantine in particular, you can feel free to subscribe. You can even click the bell if you would like notifications when I upload. Although most of you are also friends with me on different social medias, so I promise I will be uploading there too. Which reminds me, feel free to follow my social medias. They'll be in the description. I hope that you are all doing well in this strange quarantine time, and I'll see you soon. Bye.